So we will go through the UNSPSC coding standard aspect of this presentation. And we will cover it in 5 main areas in terms of the definition, the structure, and general use of the code. Why is UNSPSC necessary? The use in the procurement depository. We'll provide some working examples of the codes, and also we'll provide additional resources and support if you should need these. So, what is UNSPSC? That's a question you may be asking. Well, it's an acronym meaning United Nations Standard Products and Services Code. This code was jointly developed by the United Nations Development Programme and Dun & Bradstreet Corporation in 1998. Since then, this code has been updated annually and in some cases twice a year. It is an open, global, multi-sector standard for efficient, accurate classification of products and services. And open means that it is in a shareable, easy-to-use format. And global means that it's being used internationally. So for instance, the government of New Zealand adopts this coding standard for its goods and services. So how is the UNSPSC used generally? So it is used as an aid in identifying the particular goods, works, or services that are being requested by the public body and also by the supplier, indicating what they can provide for better matching between public bodies and suppliers. Okay. It is considered an efficient, accurate, and flexible classification system that is used for achieving organization-wide visibility of spend analysis, to enable procurement to deliver on more cost-effective demands, and also for allowing full exploitation of electronic commerce capabilities. So let's take a look at the UNSPSC coding structure. So 2 things to remember. It's a hierarchical structure, and there are 4 levels within this hierarchy. As you can see here, the 4 levels are, the topmost level will be the segment, the second level is the family, the third level is the class, and the 4th and lowest level is the actual commodity code. Each of these levels will provide a 2-digit code, which altogether will give a complete code of 8 digits. Now we'll illustrate the use of this code via an example. An example we'll use here is how do we code a toner. And a toner is something that most of us would be using in their organization. So at the highest level for a toner, we will see this is categorized at the segment level beginning at 44, the office equipment and accessories and supplies. If we were to look down to the second level being the family, we will notice the description is office machines and their supplies and accessories. Note here that the code now is 4410, 10 being the family, but 44 pulls or inherits the segment code. As we drill down to the third level, which is the class, this is the printer and facsimile and photocopier supplies. Notice again, what's highlighted here is the class code is 31, but this would have inherited from the 2 levels above, 44 for the segment and 10 for the family. As we drill down to the 4th and final level for the toner, the commodity code being 03 here, unique. The overall code for toner and the commodity code would be 44103103. Again, 44 represents the segment, 10 represents the family, and 31 represents the class. And then 03 represents the individual toner itself. So as we illustrate another example of the code, but in this case, we have 2 similar products which belong to the same segment and family, but differ in their class and commodity codes. So for instance, if we look at the photocopiers, we notice that the photocopier code begins with 4410, meaning that it belongs to the same segment and family as the toner 4410. Both belong to the same segment and family. However, where they differ is at the class and the commodity. So the photocopiers class code is at 15 for duplicating machines, whereas the toner, the class for that would be 31 for printer and facsimile and photocopier supplies. So when we drill down to the fourth and final level, we will have a unique code 01 for the photocopiers and then 03 for the toners. So altogether, the four parts of the code make up that unique commodity code. So the question you may ask is, why is UNSPSC necessary? So currently, there is no common standard used by public bodies in Trinidad and Tobago for the classification of goods and services. And this OPR saw as a golden opportunity to adopt an internationally recognized standard for classification of goods and services. UNSPSC standard is adopted particularly in the procurement depository, which will be used by both public bodies and you, the suppliers and contractors. So let's look at some of the benefits of this coding standard. So three main benefits are: one, for product discovery. It's a common naming convention that allows computer systems to automatically list similar products under a similar category. So you'll remember just now when we look at both the example for both the photocopier and also the toners, you'll notice that they belong to the same family but differ in the class and the commodity. So you're able to then search products under the same categories, similar families, similar segments. The second benefit will be the facilitation of expenditure analysis. Therefore, when every purchase transaction of an enterprise is tagged with a common set of product identifiers, purchasing managers are able to analyze enterprise expenditures. And again, if we make reference to the example before, we will be able to, or you will be able to analyze spend at the family level, at the class level, and down to the commodity level. So it gives that top-down analysis that's important for businesses to understand where their spend is. And then even on the flip side, from a supplier, you can even use that same code to understand your sales, to understand where your top lines and the gross profit margins are at the various hierarchical levels. And then looking at the third benefit in that it provides control and uniformity across the board. This brings a code with a single uniform view of all expenditures in an organization. It ties together all departments and divisions, including business functions such as purchasing and settlement. So for example, there's now a common language that's being spoken between public bodies and suppliers, and also common language among public bodies. So Ministry of Finance, Regional Health Authority, and even Ministry of Finance and all different public body categories will all look at the same product and speak of it at the same category. So what will the procurement depository do? And I would have made mention of the procurement depository. And what is it exactly? So the procurement depository is a system that will manage, capture, and report information as described in the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act 2015, Section 13. And I invite you, suppliers, to actually take a look at this act in Section 13 so you can actually look at the various levels and functionalities that will be covered in the depository as well. So the system was really designed along those lines to make sure that we are in compliance with those sections. So taking a look at the UNSPSC in the procurement depository, there is a relationship between public body use and supplier contractor. So for public bodies, they can express their interest in lines of business, and they will be able to pre-qualify suppliers and contractors for particular lines of businesses. Public bodies, when they issue a tender, they'll be able to classify that tender by the line of business. And public bodies will then be able to search and shortlist suppliers and contractors who are pre-qualified in those lines of business. So the relationship that we look at, that is supplier, is that suppliers and contractors will be able to express the lines of business and businesses that they are able to provide. Public bodies will now be able to be matched with the line of business that the supplier is able to provide, and then they are able to then follow the pre-qualification process. So that makes the entire pre-qualification process much smoother. And for suppliers, they can be notified of any new opportunities by line of business. So the relationship is that once a public body categorizes the line of business by tender, suppliers will then be notified by that line of business once it's been published. So the added benefit is that suppliers will be notified of opportunities as it occurs, in addition to looking at the press and at the public body's websites. So now we will illustrate again using 3 examples of the use of the UNSPSC codes. And the first one we'll look at is office supplies, again a very common category which most people will utilize in their day-to-day business activities. And in the procurement depository, when you look at the first level, we will be presented with the office equipment and accessories and supplies. Once we select at that highest level, we drill down to the next level, and we will notice that the previous level always appears to the top here, and then represented with the next level, second level. And so we will select the office supplies. At the third level, we're presented with 7 options, and we will want to select the most option that's fitting for us: folders and binders and indexes. And also note to the top, the hierarchy levels, previous hierarchy levels are always maintained. So we will see the first level being office equipment and accessories and supplies, level 1, level 2 being office supplies. And now at the third level, we can now drill down to the 4th level. So the 4th level represented with many options in being the commodity codes here. So we can select 1 or multiple codes for pre-qualification. And again, looking at the top, we're seeing the 3 levels which are being displayed. We will look at another example, which is vehicle tires. And for vehicle tires, the first level we will search and retrieve that will match vehicle tires will be commercial and military and private vehicles and the accessories and components. Now, it's good to note that the description must be assessed very closely to make sure that you are looking to get the part that you're looking for. For instance, accessories and components will be very key to finding the product categorization code. So the second level, when we drill down, again represented with multiple entries. So for instance, we will see aircraft, marine transport, motor vehicles, non-motorized cycles, until we look at transportation components and systems. So we will select that and drill down to the 3rd level. And at the 3rd level, represented with 5 options: suspension system components, tires and tire tubes, transportation repair kits, vehicle doors, vehicle interior systems. But since we're looking for tires, the option here is obvious: tires and tire tubes. So when we drill down to the next level, which is the lowest level, and again I make reference, the hierarchy is always displayed to the top. We will see automobile or light truck tires, or we see bicycle tires, or heavy truck tire tubes, or heavy truck tires. But in this case, we will select one option, the first option. And the third option, the third example here, was taken from an actual advertisement from a public body who was seeking for the supply of an electronic system to facilitate payment of monies to public bodies. So when we look down in terms of categorization of this particular service, it was found under the financial instruments, products, contracts, and agreements. The second level will then be bank offered products. The third level will now be electronic fund transfer and payment products. But in each of these cases, you will still need to make sure that you assess each of the options which are being presented, just to make sure that you do select the correct code. And the fourth and final level will be the money transfer application. So those were the three examples that were presented. And what I'd like to do now is actually segue into the actual Excel sheet of the entire listing of the UNSPSC, so you can get a good understanding of what the codes look like. So this here is the full listing of the codes, and at the highest level, the segment level, there are approximately 55 of these, 55 segments. If I were to expand one of these, so let's look at building and construction machinery accessories, we will notice that it begins with It begins with heavy construction, machinery and equipment. That's the next level. And under that next level, we have 6 different levels. We have earth-moving machinery, paving equipment, heavy equipment components, aerial lifts, building construction machinery and accessories, building demolition machinery and equipment. And notice again how the hierarchy is maintained. It always begins with 22, then the next level above, which is 2210. So you notice that there is a consistent level. And after that, we now go into, we drill down into earth-moving machinery. We have the exact commodity codes here. So under earth-moving machinery, you'll notice the same codes, 22, 10, 15 for all of them. And then there is a sequential number increasing from 1 going up to all the way up to 40. Okay. So it's a very comprehensive list, and it's divided into products and also services. If we were to look at another example, so for instance, cleaning equipment and supplies, again we drill down, we notice the next level, janitorial equipment, cleaning and janitorial supplies. But notice in here, we don't really mix services with supplies. It's either a good or it's a service. So if we look at the janitorial equipment, expand, we would now look at the floor machines and accessories. And within that, we have the various commodity codes that falls within floor machines and accessories. So, switching back now, in terms of providing additional resources for you to take a look at, we have some additional information on the UNSPSC website, which is identified here, as well as United Nations Global Marketplace websites. These two you can access to get some further information, and you can actually play around and navigate with. The actual full code listing is available in a PDF format, and this format is free. Or if you would like to purchase it, it's in an Excel format that's at the cost of 100 US on the UNSPSC website. So I'd just like to transition to those two websites so you can get an idea as what or how you can actually use those resources. You should now be seeing the UNSPSC website, and this is the website actually, or the organization that developed the UNSPSC codes. And here you can actually search for the code either by code number or code name. So let's say, for instance, I'm looking for a particular name. Let's see, so I type in tires, search for it. It will retrieve for me a listing of all the commodity codes that contains the word tires. Now, point to note in the type of English that is being used here by the UNSPSC. So the UNSPSC codes adopts the American English versus the British English. So tires is spelled the American style versus if we typed in TYRES, we will not find it because that is the British version of tires. So that's something to bear in mind when you're searching for your particular line of business. If we look now at the UNSPSC codes under United Nations Global Marketplace, so they have adopted the code as well. And what they have done, they have made a slight adjustment to it where they have added a higher level where they categorize the segments into certain commonalities. So they put all the services under one heading, and so you'll notice that there's a mixture of codes here. All right, and under this heading, I can drill down, and I can keep drilling down until I go to the lowest level in the code. All right. And again, you can also search for the codes here or the description. So if I type in the same thing as tires, what this will do for me, it searched everywhere that contained the word tires. So these codes will take some getting used to. It's quite a lot, but it is quite easy to search and retrieve. So in terms of support, the OPR is here to support you fully. And any questions relating to the UNSPSC can be emailed to support@opr.org.tt, and we'll be sure to answer your questions.